Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Third Generation Wrestling Podcast, doing a special episode, and we want to dedicate this episode to Chadwick Boseman and Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake, the individual that was shot in Kenosha this past Sunday by a police officer, and Chadwick Boseman passed away Friday, August 28th, after dealing with his battle with colon cancer. The actor died at the age of 43, and this statement was issued by his family. It is with immeasurable grief that we confirm the passing of Chadwick Boseman. This statement revealed that he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in 2016 and that he battled with it for the past 4 years as it progressed to stage 4. A true fighter, Chadwick persevered through it all and brought you many films that you have come to love so much as Thurgood Marshall, The Five Bloods, obviously Black Panther. So we want to take this episode and celebrate his life, and we want to give our thoughts and express our concerns with the climate in the country as we discuss the issues that continue to plague our country as far as us as a black community wanting equality and just wanting to be treated as human beings in this country. So we thank you all for listening to this special edition podcast, and we invite any and all feedback. And again, thank you.
Welcome to the Third Generation Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Eric and Rob.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Third Generation Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Eric, joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob, and it's been an interesting week. We initially didn't have a show planned for today, but with the current events going on and all the racial tension, along with the fact that last night we lost one of our own heroes. So it's just a whole lot going on, and I just wanted to use, what little bit of platform I do have and that we have to just air out some thoughts and put it out there. And instead of letting it sit on your mind and on your heart, just, get it out there and open the door for commentary. And I think it's important that we do that as men, because a lot of times, as men we're taught, and as boys we're taught to, shake it off and keep moving. And I think over the years we've learned that that's not always the best way to go, and it's better just to really get those emotions out, better than to hold it in. So, opening the floor to you. How you feeling, man, first of all, and your reaction to, I guess, the most recent thing that happened was the passing of, Chadwick Boseman.
Well, that was just a very shocking. You never expect these things. He battled colon cancer for the past 4 years. He didn't make it public, so no one was aware of it. And I guess some people had noticed and I had too noticed he had lost some weight, but I just always assume actors are preparing for the next role.
Right.
So when I saw that, his weight was a little, I didn't think he was sick. I just thought maybe, okay, he's preparing for a role. Black Panther was just truly a game-changing moment in cinema. Even with the backing of Marvel, I don't think anyone was completely sure that a movie that was primarily an African-American cast and a black superhero, I don't think people were sure whether or not this movie would be the hit that it turned out to be. But it did. It exceeded all expectations, and it it made us in the African American community proud because of the historical African images presented on the screen. But then it was also just an entertaining movie, no matter what background you were from. It was just a great movie, man. And part two was shortly going into production. You have to wonder what's going to happen with that now. But just a tremendous loss of a tremendous talent and great actor at only 43 years of age.
Well, I guess if we do the math correctly, he's technically still 42. His birthday's not until November, but whatever. 43, 42, we're not going to be that nitpicky.
Okay. 43, but, man, 42, which makes it even more tragic.
And the reason I point that out is because of he played the movie 42. The MLB just celebrated Jackie Robinson yesterday when he passed. So to me, it's poetic to say 42. And so he was Black Panther. He brought that character to life and gave young blacks a superhero that they could relate to. But he also played, the running joke was if there's a famous black hero or famous black figure to be played in a film, it's going to be played by Chadwick Boseman. He was Jackie Robinson. He was Thurgood Marshall. He was James Brown.
Right.
And I even enjoyed his other film, 21 Bridges. I thought that was a good film. I actually own that one. It's really good. So
I just recently saw it. I don't own it, but I enjoyed that one as well. And just on an interesting note for me, Chadwick Boseman also starred in a movie called The Express. Now, he wasn't the main star in it. The movie is actually about Ernie Davis, who was the first black player to ever win a Heisman.
Oh, okay.
He was
that was him?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he didn't. You say he didn't star in it.
He wasn't the star.
Right.
Davis. That was Rob Brown. But the interesting part, Chadwick Boseman played a player who was one of Ernie Davis's teammates. The player's name was Floyd Little. Floyd Little is a Denver Bronco legend. For those who listen to the podcast, if I haven't mentioned it before, I am an avid Denver Bronco fan since the 70s. Floyd Little played in the era where I first became a fan. He was inducted into the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2010. And that's a movie of Chadwick's I had not seen, and I wasn't aware that he had played Floyd Little. But that really resonates with me because Floyd Little is a Denver Bronco legend. So that's one I'm going to definitely check out.
So off topic really quick, only because I listen to this show every day. Do you own a Shannon Sharp jersey?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hanging up. I own his. I have his, Steve Atwater, and John Elway's hanging up. I have a Bronco room, and I have them hanging up on a wall. And those are all Hall of Famers now. But, yeah, I have all three of those jerseys because they're three of my favorite Broncos of all time. And, yep.
Okay. All right. Yes, it's very sad. My son is a huge Black Panther fan. He was a Batman person for a while, but once Black Panther came out, it was over. Everything is Black Panther. His bed here at my house is a Black Panther bed. The bed at his mom's house is a Black Panther bed. Everything is Black Panther. So.
Yeah, and that just shows, without getting too heavy on the podcast with the social commentary, but me growing up, I never had really a black superhero. It was Batman. I love Batman, love Superman. But for kids in this generation to be able to grow up and have a true black superhero on the level of Black Panther, I don't think people who aren't African American can truly understand the significance of that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we had, every superhero growing up was white. I mean, even even when you look at actors, for the most part, in the limelight, there were white actors. Bruce Willis, your Jean-Claude Van Damme, your Stallones, Schwarzenegger, and then you go to the superhero realm: Superman, Batman, Spider-Man,
Yeah, I
and
mean, you don't go down the list. And look, man, we all love Spider-Man, Batman. I love all of those guys, but it obviously a proud moment when you have a black superhero. It's just a proud moment.
oh, of course. And the other thing I keep hearing in the news, and it actually started when Black Panther came out, it was the fact that, Black Panther is the first black superhero put up by Marvel. No, it's not. Everybody forgets about Blade. If you didn't have Blade, there would be no Marvel Cinematic Universe if Blade was not successful. Point blank, period.
That is a good point, and I don't know if Blade is considered a superhero or kind of an anti-hero.
No, he's a hero. He's got comics.
All right, well, the point. Well, yeah, but the point is still well taken, though. Either way, and I agree. I think a lot of people do forget that.
Yeah, and then Wesley Snipes paved the way for that, and you don't get any black in Wesley Snipes. So, but it is. I was rocked. I mean, my brother texted me late last night, and I just dropped my phone. This can't be real. And I know, like you talked about earlier, when in April when he posted that video, and he looked frail, like half. My mind instantly, like you, kind of went to, well, it must be for a movie role. But the other half of me was like, I don't know. That doesn't look like something he did intentionally. That looks like he's sick. So, and then for this to happen, I 42, 43 years on this earth, that's not a really long time. But I guess what I can take away from it is, and you look at the silver lining, he did more in those 43 years than most people do in their entire lives. And he left us with so much, and we will forever remember his name and forever celebrate him. Just have to not lean, and forgive me, but if you're not religious, turn your ears off. Trying to lean on my own understanding and try to understand that God has a plan, and how I was raised, I always try to treat people with respect and treat people how you want to be treated, because you just never know, one, whose help you might need, and two, you just never know what somebody's really going through. And for someone to hide the fact that they were going through what he was going through with his sickness for 4 years, shooting movies like it's nothing, and then to come out that he's had this for 4 years, and it was stage 3 and escalated to stage 4, and now he's no longer with us. That's strong. That's really strong.
Yeah, it really is. Privacy is so hard when you're in the entertainment industry, sports industry. Anytime you're in an industry where you're in the spotlight. But for him, like you said, to just continue to work, just showed tremendous courage. Tremendous courage.
Yeah, I've been watching his that speech he made at Howard, his alma mater, and that's a brilliant speech. And did you know about the fact that Denzel Washington was a hero to a lot of black actors and even just blacks in general? But did you know, like, the backstory between Chadwick and Denzel?
No, I haven't heard that.
So, just a quick story. It was Chadwick was going to Howard, and he ran into some financial issues, and he got a random sponsor. And then when he started acting and got into film, he found out who his sponsor was, and it was Denzel Washington. And once he got more and more prominent, I think Denzel had some type of ceremony. I can't remember the name of it at the moment, but Chadwick spoke at it, and he said there is no Black Panther without a Denzel Washington. He thanked him during that show. Um, they had met. They actually met. He told a funny story. They met at the Black Panther Hollywood premiere. That was the first time they had met, and Chadwick heard that Denzel was in the audience, and he met him after the movie. And he said, "Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for that sponsorship that you gave me all those years ago." And Denzel said, "Oh, that's why I'm here. You owe me money." So I thought that was a cool story, and the fact that, you know, he got to meet his hero and even salute his hero face to face and get to know the person that not only he looked up to, but actually was partially responsible for his success. So that's a beautiful story. You know, the fact that, you know, blacks helping out other blacks is just, you know, I as a black man, I can't think of anything better.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And Denzel, you know, he's true to his word. Uh, a recording of his, actually, a speech he gave at Dillard University, where he talks, put God first. If you want to look for it, just look for Denzel Washington, put God first on YouTube. And he talks about each one, teach one. He talks about the most selfish thing you can do is to do something for someone else. And he says it's selfish because of the satisfaction you get. So he says, when you've made it, bring someone else up. And so obviously what he did for Chadwick is an example of him just putting his money where his mouth is. Great story.
Yep. And unfortunately, as much as I hate to do it, you know, we had this incident a week ago now, this Jacob Blake incident that happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Did you see the video?
I've seen a video. I don't know if I've seen the video in its entirety, but I've seen a portion of the video.
So the video that I saw, and probably most people saw, was the one with the officers walking him around to his car. As he's getting the driver's seat, he gets shot in his back 7 times. And not only does he get shot 7 times, his kids are in the car and they witness all of this. And this led to more riots, more protests, as it should. But it also led to 2 more people losing their lives because someone decided to drive up to Kenosha with an assault rifle and shoot 2 white protesters, might I add. And 2 more lives are gone. And I'm just wondering, like, is this the apocalypse? Is this it? Because people are just acting a damn fool.
Well, America is really at a crossroads. We all know that racism in America has been a lingering disease for hundreds of years. But I think that the George Floyd killing really has galvanized it. And then, of course, the killing of Jacob Blake further has escalated that. And, you know, I'm not going to debate the video, what happened in the video. I think at the end of the day, we in the black community are just upset that another black man was killed by the police in what to me seems like 7 shots. To me seems excessive. We had a back and forth in our text, and I'm not going to go over that here on the podcast. We had a back and forth about certain aspects of it. But at the end of the day, we in the black community are just hurt that we're hearing another story like this.
Yep, and that is... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and we've just heard it too many times.
Yeah, and that's why... And I was kind of hoping that the NBA... And I was proud of them for saying we're not going to play basketball. If this is what it's going to be, then we're not going to play. And I was proud of them for that because it's like Why are we going to entertain you by dribbling the basketball and y'all can't do something as simple as dress like human beings? So, while I think it was, I still think it was a good idea, and I still applaud them for doing it because it got a lot of attention. When you can make the headlines outside of this just the sports realm, you're on everything, and now people know why. That means it worked. Now they resumed play today, which is fine because I believe you have a bigger platform and you should use such platform to keep that message going. Beat America over the head with this because it can't go away. We cannot give up. I mean, one of the things that Chadwick left us with was, to me, one of the most, powerful quotes, and it's to press on with pride, and press on with purpose. We cannot just give up in our darkest hour. We have to push on and persevere, even though, you know, times are tough. These are dark times we're living in. Not just as a black community, but as a country. We all have to come together, and until we do, these things are going to keep happening. And unfortunately, it's going to take legislation and the governments to get on the same page. And to be honest with you, somebody's pocket's going to have to start being hurt before something gets done. Because as long as the certain people are still making money, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, very true. Money always talks. And I couldn't agree more about the NBA players. I know there were a lot of NFL football teams. They're in training camps. So obviously, they couldn't cancel games, but some of them did not practice. I even saw the NHL, which, as we know, is primarily white players. But even they canceled some games. So one of the great things about this is that when you look at these protests, you're seeing people of all colors, of all genders out there protesting this wrongdoing, protesting the social injustice. That gives me hope. It gives me hope. So, as you said, we just press on. And, look, dialogue. I have a friend I work with who's white, and he and I have dialogues all the time on the occasions that we see each other at work. We're both straight shooters. We've known each other for a long time, and we can speak comfortably to each other. And I like to think that him hearing my experience and my viewpoint kind of opens his mind a little bit, just maybe a little bit. So, dialogue, talk. You can't really ever walk in someone else's shoes. But if you just listen, open your heart and your mind to someone and what they're going through, maybe you can understand a little bit of that pain, of that experience. The bottom line is that in America, we all grow up with different life experiences, and more often than not, the color of your skin dictates the experiences that you are going to have. And those experiences kind of help shape you to the person that you become.
Yeah,
So,
sorry, but
No, go ahead.
talk about dialogue and talk about having dialogue with different races. So, if I've never put it out on the podcast yet, my wife is Caucasian. And I would not have married her had we not been like-minded and been on the same page. You got to be like-minded, sound, and body. So when it comes down to stuff like incidences like, George Floyd, Jacob Blake, Sandra Bland's of the world, your Breonna Taylor's, when I look at her and I say, that's wrong, the thing that comes out of her mouth is, yeah, it is wrong. And if anything else would have come out of her mouth, we wouldn't be in this situation, obviously. But she is 1,000% on the same page. Obviously, we have kids together, so she's technically the only white person in our house, which is kind of funny. But I just say that to say, we are able to have these hard discussions because at the end of the day, we're on the same page. And it pisses her off that these things keep happening because there's just no reason for it. There's no reason why that man could have been tased. And there's so many instances where if somebody's doing wrong, and I've said this, somebody's doing something illegal. Yes, it is the police job to stop illegal activity, to protect the community. But every person should have their day in court. And that's not happening in our community. We're being shot. Instead of having our day in court, we're having our day at the funeral home. And that's just too common nowadays. So, without getting too long-winded, I'm going to, that's all I want to leave us, the third generation wrestling listeners with, as far as from my perspective. Just wanted to, verbalize some things I had on my mind and get it out there. And, we want to be transparent with our listeners and let them know that, hey, we're not just going to ignore all the things that are going on and that we do see what's going on. And we're not going to just stay silent and just talk wrestling all the time. These things do affect us. We're human beings. We're no different than you. We don't live off of this. This is legitimately a hobby, and we do it because we love it, and we talk to everybody because we love it. So, any last words you want to have, Mr. Rob, before we move on?
Man, just how hard is it for people to just have love and respect for each other? How hard is that? No matter what your color is, no matter what your background is, what your gender is it really that hard just to have mutual respect and love for one another? To me, it just seems much harder to hate. It seems like you're expending much more energy to hate. And how can you hate someone who you've never met, never had a conversation with? We're all better than that.
Yep. Well, in the spirit of pushing forward and moving on with life and keeping going, we do have a pay-per-view tomorrow night. 2 weeks in a row. So WWE Payback, as if you keep up and you listen to our last podcast, SummerSlam 2020, we all know that the big dog Roman Reigns made his long anticipated and surprise return, and we were having to me it was a good discussion about, okay, he's back. Looks like he's a heel, finally. What do they do with him now? And I honestly didn't think that they would jump this quickly to put him in the Universal title picture, but I guess you kind of had to, just because of the way it played out. And I was very, very interested to see SmackDown this week. So that's why I want to start with SmackDown. To me, it was a decent episode. But before we get to the very end, I thought there were other things on the show that were very intriguing. Firstly, so we had what was it? Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy had a match.
Yeah, he wrestled Shinsuke Nakamura.
So he picked up the win, but after the match was the most intriguing part because Sami Zayn, old caveman Sami Zayn, made his return, and he still has his Intercontinental Championship, and he's holding it up, calling Jeff Hardy a fraud. So, and then we get, the whole interaction with AJ. So I don't know if they're going to just throw on a triple threat match for tomorrow night, or they're going to hold off until the next pay-per-view, or maybe a SmackDown episode. Not really sure, but man, I thought that was an intriguing return. I didn't think we'd see Sami Zayn anytime soon. So, man, this Thunderdome, ever since the Thunderdome has come along, WWE's been pretty intriguing.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know if it's because of Thunderdome or if there's just better writing going on. Obviously, the return of Roman Reigns, especially heel Roman Reigns, is just a huge intriguing storyline in and of itself. But the return of Sammy and carrying the Intercontinental Championship, declaring himself still the champion, that's another intriguing storyline for me that I'll be watching.
Definitely. And then after that, the other thing that stood out to me was, so we had the backstage segment with Big E and Heavy Machinery, and then Bayley and Sasha walk up. And you know what? And MJ Buck's gonna love this. Bayley has found her sweet spot as a heel, because what she said, when she said, some people are just meant to be in tag team champions. They're not meant to be, single WWE champions. That cut deep. Like, when I first heard it, I was only thinking about Big E, but then I looked at Sasha and I went, oh, okay.
That's what was so brilliant about that line, because obviously when she's saying it, she's addressing Big E, but then, like you have that second thought, like, oh wow, but that's a dig at Sasha too. Just slowly, the slow burn, just little comments like that continues this slow burn, and yeah, it was brilliant.
Yep, and they did the promo in the ring, and they were kind of continuing the tease, All right, so I actually do like the tag match of Nia and Shayna versus the Golden Role Models, but man, Nia and Shayna, they really can't cut promos. It's just not their sweet spot at all. And I don't know. I think they really hurt the segment. I mean, I haven't said a bad thing about Bayley and Sasha in months. So, I mean, yeah, I do see your point when it comes to Shayna, especially when it comes to on the mic. But I still think she can deliver in the ring, given the right situation. The mic thing, I don't know.
Well, tomorrow's going to be interesting, because are Shayna and Nia really going to be able to work together, even for the sake of becoming tag team champs? Or is it all just going to fall apart, and then we'll see it develop into a feud between the two of them? That's why we're watching tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah. So, the big story of the night was the final thing I want to touch on before I get
Vince
to
trying
to get all three competitors
Reigns
is to sign the contract. Alexa Bliss, and backstage promo, we see Alexa Bliss talking to Tamina
in the middle, and Braun Strowman
and
did
then
squash.
Tamina's talking to Nikki Cross. I'm sorry. And Nikki Cross has this coffee mug. She's gonna give it to Alexa. Alexa
finally
pops
got
in,
to
and
Roman's
she's got
locker
that
room for the second time.
pigtails look again.
And he just busts in, and Roman's
I'm
there.
like, oh, okay, well, maybe she's just going back
And
to
he
a
says,
little retro
I need to
look.
look this
No big
over.
deal. And then
we
Nikki
get the main
notices
event
this
match.
sort of
And then we cut to
dreadlock
the very end again, and Roman's sitting
in
down.
Alexa's hair.
He does say something about, as
And
long as you make the changes
I'm like,
we agreed upon in the contract, I'm good.
maybe
I will
they're
be
still
there
doing this
Sunday.
whole Bray
There's no doubt
Wyatt
about
Fiend storyline with Alexa.
I will regain
joining
my
Bray
championship that I
and
never
she kind of
lost.
flips out at the end of that segment and smashes the coffee mug.
That's not
So
a prediction.
I don't know. It's curious because she wasn't
spoiler.
involved in the match on Sunday whatsoever. So I thought they
Camera
just pulled the
pans
plug
to
on
the
that
right,
whole thing altogether. But I
and you
guess
see Paul
they're
Heyman,
going back to it.
and he says, "Believe."
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this to me, a couple of
and
things.
the show goes off the
And
air,
we're going to talk
and I
about
was
Roman Reigns,
like,
so I won't say
yes,
too much. But
yes,
he did not sign the contract.
That is
And
kill
then
confirmed.
we
Roman
finally
Reigns is
see
a
Alexa
badass
Bliss,
heel.
when we were all
We've been
wondering last week, where was she
crying for
in the
years.
in the Fiend versus Braun
Thank
match?
you.
Where was she?
Yes,
So,
man, loved it.
does she somehow get
damn
involved
time.
in the match tomorrow? Does that
With
affect
Heyman
the
as his
outcome?
manager,
No, Reigns
doubt.
didn't technically
No doubt
sign the
he's a heel.
contract. Will he actually
And
be
man,
there?
I'm just all about
It's
this.
all
When he
interesting.
first uttered that line about that's not a prediction, that's a spoiler, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, all the momentum they're building, and they got him quoting Paul Heyman, but then when they panned over and Paul Heyman was sitting right there, oh, bruh. I mean, that was something else. This storyline, I tell you what, this storyline alone, look, we watch WWE regardless. We may criticize it. We're going to watch it. But this storyline has just really reinvigorated my interest.
Agreed. Agreed. He got a fresh coat of paint and he got a fresh roll of chops. I did notice it this time when he was talking, and I thought it was silly at first with people talking about his teeth. I'm like, so what? All slaves get their teeth done. Who cares? But with him, he need to learn how to talk with them damn things. It sounded like he had a lisp a little bit, but
Wow, man, I guess y'all have better attention to detail than me. I haven't even noticed dude's teeth, but now I'm sure I'll be focusing on nothing but his teeth since you mentioned that.
I didn't notice it Sunday when we were all watching the pay-per-view. But then the next day, Randy's clowning him, and then Blake's telling me about it. I'm like, his teeth. I didn't notice anything about his teeth. So now it's on my mind. So now next time I see him, of course, I'm looking at his teeth.
So, curious thing for me, ring gear. What are we going to see tomorrow as far as ring gear? Is he going to wrestle in the gear he's wearing now, the T-shirt? I mean, what do you think?
See, here's the thing. I don't know if I sent the picture to the group, but he recently just got his tattoo extended. So instead of stopping on his shoulder blade, that sleeve and it goes over his chest, now it covers half of his entire back. So we all seen, the pictures of him in the gym, and we all saw how he looked this past Sunday. Dude's jacked, even more jacked than he was before. So I'm thinking, if he's a heel now, he's the Paul Heyman guy now. I'm just praying to the heavens above. Just no vest. I don't care if it's a tank top or maybe a different version, but just not a Shield vest. If you're gonna change his character, you gotta go full on. He can still wear the pants and the boots, fine. But if to me, if you're gonna put that kind of work in the gym and then get that tattoo, you gotta show that. That's money. Go shirtless.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on that. With all of the momentum they have going, the heel turn, everything we've always wanted, you can't hit a major speed bump by having him come out in that vest. I mean, you just can't do that. You got to make it all new, all fresh. I'm not going to make any predictions what it'll be, whether it's shirtless, whether it's a tank, but you cannot do that vest.
Exactly. Well, I do, however, want your predictions for Payback. Really quick.
Okay.
So I guess this match was added at the last minute. Big E versus Sheamus. I'm going
sorry,
Big E.
I thought you were just trying to get rapid fire predictions from me, but yeah, go ahead.
I'm going Big E. I think they gotta get the momentum going behind him. And Sheamus will be a good person to beat. So I'm going Big E.
Okay, well, I was a little premature with my prediction, but I'm going Big E as well. They're going to keep building him up, and Sheamus is a good, credible opponent for him to beat. So, yeah, Big E.
I really don't care about this match. I'll be taking a shot. Matt Riddle versus King Corbin. I actually hope Matt Riddle kicks his freaking crown off, kicks his head off his shoulders. Something, this will be the first match I've cheered for Matt Riddle in a long time. But I'm still not really a fan of his. But I'm definitely going Matt Riddle's going to win.
Yeah, we agree. Matt Riddle. Corbin is just there to be the big heel, to be the stepping stone for Riddle, who I think they're pretty high on. So, yeah, Riddle wins.
I'm getting tired of this feud, but I'm still having high hopes for the Hurt Business. Apollo Crews versus Bobby Lashley with MVP and Shelton Benjamin for the U.S. Championship. Bobby Lashley better win, because they have lost literally every single match since this faction has been formed. So I'm picking Bobby Lashley, and he better win. Damn it.
Well, man, this is no fun because I'm with you. Bobby should win. I like Apollo Crews, but Bobby would just be a better champion. To me, he's just more imposing. And the Hurt Business just
needs some gold. They just need something to legitimize this faction. So, yeah, Bobby definitely should win. And that's my prediction.
Bayley and Sasha Banks defend their women's tag team championships against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. As much as I think I want to see Nia and Shayna win, I don't think they will. I think it'll be a decent match. I think they'll have the golden role models on their heels, but I think the fact that they're still doing this really turtles pace burn of this feud, I think that they'll retain. I think it's too soon for Sasha to lose both belts back-to-back weeks, so I'm going to say the golden role models retain.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think Shayna and Nia will work well together. I don't think they would be interesting champions. We talked about their promos. I don't think it would be interesting to put the straps on them. Like you, I don't think Sasha's going to lose 2 belts in 2 weeks, although it wouldn't shock me if it happened. But then if it does happen, how do you have Sasha still coming to the ring with Bayley with no belts and Bayley still a champ? I mean, I guess that does open a way for Bayley to take more shots at Sasha, but I think it's better if they keep the belts on them as tag team champs so they can still claim to be the golden role models and keep all that going until Mania, probably.
Yeah. Let's see here. Keith Lee versus Randy Orton. This is a tough one, because he just had Orton in the title picture, and I think he still is going to be. And for that reason, I'm going to say Orton wins, and he goes on to his rematch against Drew McIntyre.
Wow, this, like you said, a tough one to call. They just brought Keith Lee up. I'm kind of surprised they're putting him in this spot. I thought they would put him in with a credible opponent, but an opponent that he could beat. That it would be easy to predict him winning. But man, they're putting him in against Orton, who, as I said on a previous podcast, is doing some of his best heel work. And that loss to Drew with a backslide, no way is that feud over.
Do you know that every other podcast I listen to and people I've read reviews, they love that ending? They thought it was different. They thought it was, not the norm and all that. I was like, and I guess because it continues the feud.
Okay, look, man, everybody's different. I always say that. I didn't like it. I thought it was...
None of us liked it. None of us on this show.
It was just a weak ending to this huge feud. But obviously, it's not over. Oh, man, and getting to my prediction. Man. All right, I'm going to say that... I got to say Orton wins. Orton wins.
Yeah, it's tough to say, but... I'm not really a fan of the whole getting the rub just by being in the ring with somebody, because the fact that he's in the ring with Orton, and even though he might lose, it's still the fact that we're putting you in the upper mid card right away. And the problem with that is they've done that to Ricochet, they've done that to Cedric Alexander, they've done it to Ali, and where are they now?
Yeah, they did it with Lacey Evans.
They did it with her. They did it with Aleister Black, Kevin Owens. Look at all these people, these big names that they ruined.
Yeah, and I've said that. I don't like it. You come to the roster on Monday, you're in the title picture on Tuesday. It's just because once you start at the top, there's nowhere else to go but down after that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they need to have Keith Lee beating up guys like, I don't know, Tozawa or people like that, but you don't have to put him in against Orton, who just last week competed for the championship.
Right.
So, I don't know, man.
And that's why I kept saying, like, Mania put him in these type of matches, not now.
Right. So, I'm really curious to see how that one plays out And if Keith Lee loses, where they go from here with him. I mean, obviously they still have big plans for him, but if he loses clean with an RKO, that's not a good look for a guy just starting off on the. Even if you're losing to Orton, it's still not a good look to lose your first high-profile match clean.
There is a way to get out of this, though. Drew could come down, cause a distraction, and then Keith Lee could hit the Big Bang catastrophe and win.
Good point. I could see that, and that would work for everybody.
Yeah.
Good point.
And then that way you continue the feud with Orton and Drew, and then Keith Lee could go on and feud with whoever. So there is a way. It just depends on if, we predict these things. We give them like all these options or other ideas that they could have done, and they tend to not, they do whatever they're going to do.
Right.
Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins and Murphy in a tag match. I think it's time for Seth Rollins to get some comeuppance, and I think that, and I don't know who I was talking to. I think it was I was talking to Doc, and we were looking at Raw, and I thought that this is they're gonna make a tag team match. They're gonna put it on Payback, and this is exactly what they did. I think they gotta give a win to the Mysterios because obviously this is not gonna end yet. I think they're gonna stretch this feud till if they do Hell in a Cell, that's where the feud will end, and then you probably can send Rollins off from that point because he's got a kid on the way. So I think they're waiting for that big send off, and they can extend this feud. They're going to extend this feud as long as they can, and Hell in a Cell is a good way to take care of that. So I'm going with the Mysterios.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Mysterios. Like you said, I think it's time that Seth took one here, and you can get away with it by having Murphy in.
Yeah, Murphy can eat the pin, and that would give Dominic a win as well under his belt. So you kill two birds. And last but not least, The Fiend Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman versus heel Reigns. And you brought up the gear. I'm curious about the music. Like this whole thing, like it's all one thing. Like you have never, outside of being in the Shield, you've not been a heel since you've been on your own. So everything is new. And if it was anybody else, you could say, well, give them time to, fine tune it and get it right. No. When it comes to somebody the caliber of a Roman Reigns, you got to hit a home run the first time out. Y'all cannot half-ass do this. Y'all got to go all the way in. I don't want to hear burn, 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 burn. No. Come up with something different. They give everybody else new music all the time. I don't know why they can't give him new music.
Yeah, man, good point. Like I said, with what they're doing with Reigns, so far they've done everything right. Tomorrow's his first pay-per-view. You got to continue with that. You got to continue the reinvention. And so you can't do the same gear. And agreed, you cannot do the same music. Everything has to be fresh, new.
And because of the way SmackDown ended, he cannot lose. I don't see a scenario where he cannot walk out as Universal Champion. Period. And that's my prediction.
This is a tough one for me because even though I'm not a fan of The Fiend, a lot of people are. He just won it back last week. I'm curious about the whole Alexa Bliss dynamic. I mean, she made an appearance last night. Does that mean they're going to do something with her? But look, man, I'm not going to try to overthink this. Roman Reigns is back. Heel Roman Reigns is back. Heel Roman Reigns is back with Paul Heyman as his manager. You got to finish it off. Reigns has to walk out champ. That's my prediction.
Yep. It's going to be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. I actually think this card is, to me, it looks better on paper than SummerSlam did. And even though Drew's not on the card, I just feel like this one actually has the interesting and intriguing storylines with Roman, with Sasha and Bayley. Can they coexist? How much dissension are we gonna see? Big E's on his own. Keith Lee's making his main roster pay-per-view debut. So I'm just more intrigued with this card, personally.
Well, I am too. Like I said, Reigns alone. If Reigns isn't on this card, I'm kind of meh about it, to be honest. I mean, I do like Big E getting a big match, but Big E's going to win. I mean, so Keith Lee, I like Keith Lee against Randy. We both said that one was hard to predict. But, yeah, without Roman Reigns, to me, an average card, but everything involving him, that elevates it a lot for me.
Yep. The last thing I want to ask you, and it's because it's on Tuesday, is I want your prediction on NXT this week. Because Karrion Kross had to vacate the NXT Championship, as we all know, because he separated his shoulder during the Keith Lee match. So they determined that they would do a Fatal 4-Way with Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Finn Balor, and Adam Cole. Baby! In a 60-minute Fatal 4-Way Iron Man match. So whoever gets the most pinfalls in that 60 minutes will be the NXT champion. So, rapid fire off the top of my head, I am going Daddy's Home, Tommaso Ciampa, never lost the championship. He's going to win. Who you got?
Man, stealing my thunder. I wanted to go Gargano, but like you said, Tommaso Ciampa, Daddy's Home. We haven't seen the end of him and Cross. I don't know how long Cross is going to be out, but whenever Cross comes back, running it back between him and Ciampa, I'd be all about that. And I think that's the best way to go, so I'm going to say Ciampa wins.
All right. Well.
And I have to remember that it's on Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. So, that'll be, I'm looking forward to that. I want to see how that goes. So, all that being said, we just wanted to come on here, and this is an impromptu show, so, we just felt like we had to express how we felt about the current climate in our country, the sudden loss of Chadwick Boseman, and then also, hey, we got another pay-per-view, might as well talk about it. So, thank you all for listening. Hit us up, Third Generation Wrestling Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, as well as podcast_third. You can email us at thirdgenwrestling@gmail.com. And we will be back tomorrow night doing a post show, Payback 2020. I believe MJ Book is going to be on tomorrow with us, and possibly Doc. Never know. So, Mr. Rob, got anything?
Hey, always want to thank the listeners. We appreciate y'all. Let's hear from you. And, hey, love one another.
Exactly. Love one another. Let's just, I don't know how else to say it. Let's just love one another. It's really easy. Everybody, take care. Speak to y'all again tomorrow night after Payback. Enjoy.